What's up, guys? Today we're talking about training from at home. This is what I've been doing for quite some time now, and I've made some errors along the way concerning the way I bought stuff and what stuff I bought in a certain order. So today I'm going to explain all my errors that I've done so you don't do the same errors and can perfectly progress in your home gym journey. So let's start out with my home gym tour, just so you kind of know which equipment I'm using day to day. So let's start with the video. Check out my timestamps down there in the description. What I use every morning is my bike. It is an exercise bike, the Z Pro Rave. I do exercise every day for 45 minutes before work in the best case, and on the weekends I usually do it a bit later. I am a very big fan of it because I hate training in the cold, and especially in the winter I really suddenly stopped doing cardio, I stopped doing walks, so it is a great way to get my cardio in. So if you are, in Germany we would say a Frostbeule, if you really don't like the cold, then you can consider getting something like this because it is very, very practical. But I'll explain more of that later. Next up, we've got my pull-up bar. This is part of almost every workout, of course not for my legs, but I love my pull-up bar, and it's just something that is quite cheap, that is easy to install, kind of, if you are a bit handy. And the one thing that is also great is that you can actually have a real life use for this exercise, because we've all got those fantasies of us hanging down a cliff, so we need to pull ourselves up. It's a great motivator. So I love my pull-up bar, and this is what I use almost every day. Next up, we have my dumbbells. I've got two types of dumbbells. This is my newer set that I've just recently purchased. This was quite expensive. I have to say, this was around 700 euros. And the thing why it is so expensive is because it is a changeable weight in this dumbbell. So I've got 41.5 kilograms of weight per dumbbell that I can use maximum. And I chose this type of special dumbbells because as I was progressing, I needed to switch my weights more often. I needed to use more weights, and over time it kind of gets a bit boring, a bit of a nuisance. It's just not fun to switch your weights. It's like building a Lego set between a set. It's not good. This is why I bought this, but for most of my home gym times, I've been using these standard cast iron dumbbells, and those are great too because they are really accessible price-wise, and they are just durable because it's literally just metal. You can't really do a lot wrong with it. And at this point, I want to say, check out Facebook Marketplace, check out all the used websites, because you can get great deals on there, because gym equipment is bought tons and tons and tons of in this world, and you can really profit from that. So check out used sizes if you've got a limited budget. Next up, I've got my bench press with dip handles. This is actually what I also got from a marketplace for around 20 euros, and it's great, but I'm not 100% happy with it. I would not buy it again, but I'll exactly explain why later. You can do all the basic exercises, Arnold dips, bench press, you can do normal dips, you can do all kinds of stuff. You can do a shoulder press, but that's not really perfect, but I also explain all of that later. But this is just something that I also use every day in my workouts, pretty much. Just as I started out, I also bought a weighted vest and some parallettes. The weighted vest is something that I used most of the times with some body weight exercises like push-ups, really mostly, and Arnold dips. So this is what I did with two chairs behind me, or my bench press behind me. And it is good, but again, it's not perfect and it's got its weaknesses, so I'll explain all of that. Paralettes are something that I also used quite frequently when I started out, but I kind of used them less and less as I progressed, but they're still not bad to have. But now I'll explain to you in which order to buy everything and how I initially bought it, so you don't make the same mistake as I did. So I'm just gonna read the order in which I first bought everything, so the wrong order, and then I'm gonna read the order in which you should buy everything, and then afterwards I'll explain everything. So let's start out. I'm just gonna read from the list. So first of all, I bought my dumbbells. This is something I do again. That's a great choice. Then I bought my pull-up bar. I wouldn't buy my pull-up bar as a second piece of equipment because a pull-up is quite a hard exercise, or a chin-up, however. And it's just not the smartest idea to instantly start with the hardest exercise pretty much you can do, because you need to really be strong enough to pull all your body weight up. So I would not buy that again instantly. Next up, we've got the small parallettes. I would buy those a bit earlier, because if you have limited space in general, then it's just a great thing to have. You can mostly only do stuff like push-ups, or you could even try stuff like a handstand, but that's too advanced really. But I just love it for push-ups because it's really cheap usually, and it just makes the push-up harder because the range of motion is bigger. It's nothing special, but I still like to use it when I started out. Next up, I bought my weighted vest, and that was an error. Why was it an error? Well, the weighted vest I could only really use for two exercises, for push-ups and for Arnold dips. And the thing is, the vest does make sense if you really progress and you find yourself at such a point where you actually can do like 10 pull-ups or something, and you need to have more resistance while doing pull-ups or push-ups. But that really just makes sense if you are advanced and if you are quite strong already, because at the start, just as I bought it, it wasn't of much use and it would have been smarter to buy something else. In this case, I'd probably should have bought my dip handles, because with the dip handles you can do many great exercises, especially for the back. I think my favorite exercise that you could do with some dip handles would be Australian pull-ups, because this is something where you could actually train for a pull-up. So as I said, you would be training Australian pull-ups with your dip bars, and at some point you'd become strong enough to actually do your first pull-up. So after the dip bar, I'd advise you to then buy the pull-up bar, because that would make more sense than the other way around, like I did it pretty much. Next up, I bought my bench press with dip handles, and I'd actually not buy that again, as I said previously. First of all, I love to have something where I can do shoulder press, and I'd actually have some back support, because if I do a shoulder press on this bench press with a dip bar included, you really have no support in your lower back and it's really hard to stabilize. It's not great actually. So if you are to get a bench press, I would advise you to get one with a movable back part pretty much, so it is a bit flexible in the exercises you want to do. And again, buy the dip bar separately, because in this case, for people who are quite tall like me, I need to cross my legs and that is just not perfect personally, so I just advise you to buy those things separately. And lastly, I tell you to buy the weighted vest if you have become a seasoned professional pretty much, because as I said, the weight vest really only makes sense if you want to make body weight exercises like pull-ups or dips even harder, and the average human doesn't do that many pull-ups or that many dips that he needs that much resistance. I instantly bought my weighted vest and I probably wouldn't do it again, because I've just stopped using it at this point, because I'm not strong enough to use it in combination for pull-ups at the moment, or for dips. It doesn't make a lot of sense at the moment. So as I've said, I'd advise you to buy the weighted vest only if you can do a few pull-ups, and with a few I mean like 10. So that's pretty much it. You've got the list, right order, wrong order, now you know. And this is of course just if you have not bought anything. If you've got some devices already, or if you don't have exactly the same stuff but you've got some stuff, of course use that. Use everything that makes your training harder so you can progress, because progress in strength training is what actually causes your muscles to grow. And of course training to failure and eating right, eating enough protein. But I think you know that. Use the stuff you have and then check out the order in which I got the stuff, because this would have been better for me and I think I would have progressed a lot faster, because I just started with things that were too hard for me and it would have been a bit easier for me to progress if I would have stuck to this list. But that's pretty much it. The next question is, do you need something for cardio? As I said earlier, for people like me who hate the cold, who love to train indoors, a bike for cardio is perfect. But again, it's a very personal choice. So if you are a person like Wim Hof who loves the cold, go out, go for a walk, go for a run, go for it. That's just not me and I'm not going to do it. But whatever flows your boat, I'm not going to hate you for that. There's just one last recommendation that I would make for you, and that is to get some floor protection rubber mats, because your floor will dent easily if you are strength training from at home, because at some point you will just let a weight fall down. At least that's what happened to me, and it's just unnecessary to go through all the damages if you can not have those. So get some floor protection mats just in case. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you are interested in home gym content and growing your muscles. I've had a great time with this video and I hope you had too. See you in the next video. Bye bye.